And now this is where the conversation, I feel like, can get a little bit controversial. While I think that that is great in terms of granting access to people, I would strongly suggest that if you can, do the intense gender therapy. Hi everyone, it is Samantha Lux. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a very OG Samantha Lux type video. If you've been a fan of my content for a while. It's been a while since I've made this type of content, but if you've been here for multiple years, we don't have to get into exactly how long, but you may know that my channel kind of started out as a diary type thing. It started out with me talking about my personal transition, the steps that I took, what I was experiencing, what I was feeling, all that kind of stuff. You can scroll all the way back. It's been a while. I look very different, but today's video is going to be a video of that sort. I'm pretty sure the second video or the third video I ever made after I transitioned, I talked about how I knew that I was transgender. And for the most part, I feel like all of those things are still the same. However, I left some things out that I feel are important to mention, and it's good information to have. So you're welcome. So yeah, for today's video, we're gonna talk about how I knew that I am transgender. I post new videos twice a week here on my channel, so if you guys are not yet subscribed and you would like to be, go ahead and do that right now. Go ahead. So first time, I'm not wearing a low-cut shirt in a minute. Sorry boys and girls. And theys. Everybody likes a low-cut shirt. Come on. Are you done? Thank you very much. Make sure to follow me over on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those different places to keep us up to date with me as possible. And I also have a Patreon, so if you guys like the work that I do here on my channel and you would like to donate, I would appreciate it very, very much. The link for that is down below. But yeah, with no further ado, let's get into how I knew that I'm transgender. So in the original video that I made, I think it was like a month or two after I had transitioned, I was a little baby YouTuber, a little baby trans, but a lot of what I said still holds true. It can be hard to give yourself a definitive answer to whether or not you are trans. At least for me in the beginning, it was kind of a narrowing down process, kind of. It's been a while, I don't exactly remember, but I do remember for like maybe 6 months to a year, maybe even longer than that, I was secretly using my mom's makeup in the bathroom before I would take a shower, like putting it on, like the full gag, lipstick, eyeshadow, eyeliner, like everything. I mean, no cute dresses, but you can only steal so much. And at the time, I thought I just really liked makeup. I thought I wanted to be a makeup artist and I was just practicing on myself, You thought. In hindsight, it was definitely a bit more than that. It allowed me to express the femininity that I for so long had repressed and kind of kept inside to myself. Like, I didn't realize exactly why I was doing it at the time, but I would take like eyeshadows and contour my face. I would contour like my nose into feminine shapes. Like literally tried to make my face look like a girl face with makeup without even realizing it. I'd be like, why do I look so cute? Like, why am I so fish right now? It's because you think you look like a girl, Sam. That's why. I remember even taking like a tight shirt, like a long sleeve shirt, tying it on my head and like pretending it was hair. That's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I was desperate consistently. Like, I would honestly say probably every single day I would go into the bathroom, turn on the shower, put on this makeup and just like live my fantasy, I would get it all done and get to a place where I felt pretty, and I would dance to music and I would take pictures of myself and I would like pose, and it was my first portal to seeing myself. I remember having so much fun in this bathroom in my own little world where I could just express exactly who I was. Nobody could see me, nobody could judge me. I felt so safe to just do whatever I wanted in there. But then when the time came to get in the shower and wash it off and take off the fucking t-shirt on my head, it was sad. And for a while I didn't realize why I was so like bummed. I'm like, I think I kind of told myself like, yeah, that was a good makeup look. That was a good job. You got pictures though. But it wasn't just the erasure of the makeup, it was the erasure of my identity. That sounds so cheesy, but it's true. Like I said, I did this for months and months and months without even really explicitly knowing why. And then one day I saw something online. I know, the dreaded transies taking over the interwebs and transitioning all the kids, blah, blah, blah. They got me. They got me good. I'm joking. It's a joke. I saw two things. I don't really remember exactly which one came first, which one came second, but I feel like they had the same kind of impact. I was scrolling on Tumblr one day and I saw this GIF of Ariana Grande. I know it sounds so silly, but I saw this GIF of Ariana Grande dancing in the subway in like her little high heels, just like being so feminine and free. You could just tell that she was just living her life in the most authentic form. And it kind of like ignited something in me. It was like an epiphany moment, you know what I mean? I felt like I also had this feminine spirit, this feminine energy, this feminine like soul that that needed to get out. I remember watching the GIF and thinking to myself, like, why can't that be me? Not Ariana Grande, girl. You can't be Ariana Grande. But like, why can't that be me just like living my life so freely? Like, why do I have to put these filters on myself? Why do I have to restrict everything that I do? It's not fair. And so that kind of sparked the awareness for me, the awareness that there was something inside of me that wanted to get out. The same part of me that was desperately trying to get out before I would shower when I was putting on my mom's makeup. The other thing that I saw that kind of changed everything for me was Gigi Gorgeous. I'm sure a lot of you, if not all of you, know who Gigi is. She's an OG trans YouTuber. She's been on YouTube for many, many years. And one day I stumbled across one of her videos. It wasn't even about her transition or about being trans. It was just her living her life. I think it was like a hair tutorial, if I'm being honest, but it was the first time that I saw a trans woman that was happy. Up until this point, I'd only seen the trans women on Jerry Springer that were like making fun of themselves, cracking jokes at their own expense. You know what I'm saying? Like, it never gave me the impression that being trans was something that was okay. So when I finally saw Gigi, this beautiful, successful, happy trans woman, I was like, it's possible. I watched a ton of Gigi's content. I watched a ton of other trans YouTubers' content, and I just so heavily identified with them, like their stories, like the feelings that they had felt growing up and the epiphanies that they had kind of mentioned having. And in that moment, I knew that I needed to free myself. It sounds so cheesy, so dumb, but I needed to allow this part of me that so desperately wanted to live, I needed to let it live. At this point, I was identifying as a gay boy, and it definitely helped that I was able to date men because that's obviously who I'm attracted to. And it even helped that I was able to express femininity a little bit more. You know, I was able to paint my nails and to maybe wear a little bit of makeup. And of course, you don't have to identify as a gay boy to do those things, but when I was living as a gay guy, I was doing those things and they weren't enough for me. The relationships that I was in with other guys didn't feel right. I don't want to, give TMI or anything, but like the sexual relationships that I would have with other men when I still had like a male body weren't good. No offense to them. Like they were great, but it just, the vibe was not right. You know what I mean? Like I was not playing the role that I am supposed to play. I don't know how to nicely say this. I really hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So because I was adding more feminine things to my wardrobe and to my life, and it was making me feel really, really good. And also because I had seen Gigi Gorgeous and I had seen Ariana Grande and I just felt this envy almost of them. I knew that I felt very strongly that I was like Gigi, that I was trans. And so I did what any other 17-year-old would do. I told my mom. I told her, I'm trans, I need to transition right now, I need to get on hormones right now, I want to book my surgeries, I need to live my life as a woman yesterday. And she was like, okay, let's slow down, let's take a breath, let's maybe think about this a little bit. She was like, let me do a little research, let me see, what we can do about this. Like, if you're trans, we'll figure it out. If you're not, we'll figure it out. We're gonna figure this out, And so she got me into therapy with a gender therapist who had been doing this type of therapy for decades. She was an expert in the field, or she is an expert in the field. And so with my mom, I started I believe it was like a 12-week or a 12-session program with this gender therapist to really do a deep dive into my gender history, what I'm feeling, all that kind of stuff, to really make sure that this was going to be the right path for me. And now everything that I've said up until this point, I feel like I mentioned in my last video way, way, way back, but this next part of going to the gender therapist and how I really did like that deep dive into myself is something that I haven't really talked about, but I think it is so important to talk about it, because going into this therapist, I thought day one I was gonna get hormones. I thought that she was going to be like, okay, yeah, you're trans, okay, let's set you up, let's get you a hormone doctor, we'll find you a surgeon, all this kind of stuff. And she was like, nope. No, that's not how this works. She said, we're gonna look at your history, we're gonna go through this, we're gonna go through this, we're gonna go through this, and I'm going to diagnose you with gender dysphoria. And now this is where the conversation, I feel like, can get a little bit controversial. Remember, I transitioned over 8 years ago. Since then, there's been a lot of updates in the way that, this process can happen. There's a lot of laws that allow trans people to self-ID and just get right onto hormones, get whatever they feel they might need. And while I think that that is great in terms of granting access to people, I would strongly suggest that if you can, do the intense gender therapy. While being trans is not a medical diagnosis, it's not a medical thing at all, gender dysphoria is. Gender dysphoria is a mental health concern. And when you're planning on having a medical transition, hormones, surgery, all that kind of stuff, in my opinion, you should get a gender dysphoria diagnosis. This might be a bad comparison, but like, a doctor's not gonna put a cast on your arm if it's not broken. You know what I mean? You can say it's broken, but they're gonna do an x-ray. They're gonna make sure it's broken and then they'll fix you up. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing with diagnosing gender dysphoria. You wanna make sure that there is nothing else that may be influencing you to think that you're trans or want these procedures and these surgeries or whatever that aren't the reasons that you would want them to be. Medical transition is a very serious treatment for gender dysphoria and it should be taken very, very seriously. And so as much as I hated having to do that whole 12-session process with my gender therapist, in hindsight, I understand why it was so important. Just to give you a little bit more information on the 12-session program that I had to do. So I was required to go through my whole entire life history, literally my entire life history. I had to bring up any instances where I thought that I might have felt gender dysphoria, even if I didn't know it was gender dysphoria in the moment. I was asked to bring up the moments where, looking back, we could say, oh yeah, that is the moment where you were experiencing gender dysphoria. I was required to bring in photos from my entire life, photos from my childhood, photos from my teen years, photos from my entire life, depicting and trying to trace gender dysphoria throughout my lifetime. I remember bringing in pictures of me as a kid with like bandanas tied around my head, stuff like that, all the way up to the pictures that I was taking in the bathroom with tons of makeup on, trying to look like a girl. My therapist also had private conversations with my parents, with my siblings, with anybody in my life who was willing to talk to her about my life. She wanted to talk to them. She dug into my depression, my anxiety, my eating disorders. She got into all of it and required me to take steps to improve it before she would diagnose me with gender dysphoria and before I was allowed to go onto hormones. And I'll say it again, like when I was going through this therapy, I was like, girl, like just give me the fucking hormones. Like I know who I am. I know who I am. Just give them to me, please. Like, you're torturing me. But hindsight truly is 2020. I was 17 years old when I transitioned. Of course I thought I knew everything. You know, of course I did. It turns out I did know everything, won't lie. It turns out I was right. But having a medical professional there to say, yes, you have gender dysphoria. It is consistent, insistent, persistent, all the things that it needs to be. A transition is going to be the best route for you. I'm so grateful that I did this process. I mean, if anything, it just gives me a little bit of a sense of security in myself. But of course, I know that there are going to be people that say trans people shouldn't have to go through this. Trans people should just be able to get the medicine that they want. Trans people should just have access to the healthcare that they need. And I totally agree that, you know, putting up these safeguards can feel very gatekeepy. But in my opinion, they are necessary, especially for people who are transitioning under 18. You know, if you're an adult, of course, you can make your decisions. You can do whatever you want. I would still highly encourage you to go through the gender therapy process. It's just beneficial. Like, therapy is just great in general. But as a minor, I think that this intensive, in-depth process should be mandatory. Yes, trans kids are valid. Trans kids deserve access to medical care, all that kind of stuff. However, in my opinion, it is necessary to make sure that this is the right path for them. I feel like everybody would agree with that, because there have been cases where people jump into transition too quickly. You know, they go to one therapy session and the person says, yep, you're trans, here are your hormones. And while that can feel really, really good in the moment, like, it doesn't always have the best outcomes in the end. There are reasons why somebody may feel like they are trans when they're not trans. And it is so important that when you're going for a medical transition, that it is the right move for you. Maybe you can distinguish that from yourself, but who's to say? And also, why not just get a little help? You know what I mean? I understand like it's an accessibility thing and stuff like that, but in my opinion, it's really better safe than sorry, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. That's how I figured out that I was trans, the steps that I took to transition. If you have any other questions, definitely leave them down below. I'll be reading the comments and answering whatever I can see, whatever I can find. And if you guys like videos like this, you know, it's not a reaction video. It's more of a personal, like just me talking to you video about trans things. Let me know. I mean, I love talking about trans things, so if you want me to do more of them, I definitely will. It's definitely better than reacting to transphobes every day, I must say. But yeah, you guys, if you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up down below. Make sure to subscribe if you are not already and you would like to be. And yeah, other than that, I think I'm gonna go. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.